In this episode, I will show you how to read input files with AWK. So AWK divides the input into records and fields. By default, records are separated by new lines. By changing the rs variable, we can control how the records are separated, and gawk treats the rs variable as a regular expression. So this is the record we will be working with, and this is one strategy for changing the record separator. So in the begin rule, we have in the action statement record separator equals u, and notice I have double quotes within the single quotes, and the text will continue until u is detected, and then s will appear on a new record underneath the first one, and then it will continue on for q, and then when u is detected again, this text will appear as a third record, and I have head 3 lines. Okay, so I have now 3 records from 1. Notice that u is missing here. Let me explain. When the record separator is a new line, the text will continue until new line is detected, and then a new record will be created, and then text will continue until a new line is detected, and so on. The new lines are not included in this text. Remember, that is backslash lowercase n, because the new line is the record separator. So the u's are missing from this text because u is now the record separator. You can also, let me just actually show you the next method for changing the record separator, and that is after your action statement, put rs equals 0, u, that's literal u, and then right before the input file. So that's just declaring this as a variable. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to multiple line records. I'm just going to clear the screen again. So you may want to arrange your text this way, with each field on its own line, and then the record will be a paragraph, and these records will be separated by empty lines. So if you want to match on that set, you will have to change the default behavior of the record separator. So of course the record separator by default is new line, and so we are changing this to blank, and then for the field separator we are specifying new line, so that each field will be on its own line. Okay, so let's echo into this. Okay, so these are the first field of each record, and here's a little bit of formatting for the fields. Okay, now let's move on to working with fields. So when AWK reads an input record, the record is analyzed and separated into fields. Fields are separated by default by blank space, and the nf variable means number of fields. That's the number of fields in the current record. Every time a record is read by AWK, the nf record is updated. Okay, so that's enough about nf. Now let me talk about the $sign when we are in the action statement. This means field. So here I have a comma separated list. That means I want to print field 1 and field 3. So that's the $signs mean the fields that we want to print. And field 0 is all fields in the record. Okay. So within this action statement, the / means division. So here we are dividing field 2 by 1024, and then we have literal KB as a trailer. We are trying to convert the bytes into kilobytes when we read this input. We're just going to convert that to kilobytes, and we can have an equation within parentheses. So this will print field 8. Okay, I'm going to clear the screen. All right, so notice that the output here, this is the password file, and it stores information about the passwords for users and services. So notice that the fields are separated by colons, and the capital F option sets the field separator, and then we could continue on to specify what we want to print. So where the number of records value is equal to 1, to where the number of records value is equal to 10, we want to print. So in essence, we are printing from record 1 to record 10. Okay, so just the first field. So 10 records. And here we are printing field 1 and field 3. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to clear the screen, and number of records means the number of input records seen so far. So here we have 1 and then 2. If we want to combine that variable along with the contents of all of the records, we could do so. In case you want to number your records as they go by, you could do this when you print. The NF variable specifies the number of fields in the current input record. So we have 13 fields in this record. However, if I use NF as an expression for the field that I'm looking for, I'm going to be looking for the last field in the record. Okay, so $NF means the last field in the record. So here we have field 2 and the last field in the record. Okay, but we can also use an equation here after the field symbol to specify the next to last field. So the value of NF minus 1, if I minus 2, that would be root. So instead of by, this would be root. Okay, you could also set the field values without actually changing the actual data in the fields themselves. Let me show you. So an employee overpriced all items in field 4. So the boss wants me to make a report that shows the before and the after. So here I have a variable, and I'm specifying that this is field 4. And so then I'm changing the value of field 4 to be minus 10. So I'm removing the value of 10 from it. And then I'm printing the variable and then the actual field value. So notice that I have before and then after here. And I can make a header, and I'll teach you how to make headers and print using print format and such, but you can see how I've solved the problem here. And here again, I have field 3 is equal to field 3 minus 10, and then I want to just print all of the fields. Okay, so my next point, so you could say field 3 is field 3 plus or minus or whatever you would like. You could also create variables. Actually, oh, hold on, you could create fields. So notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields here. I'm creating field 6. The value of field 6 will equal the values of all of the fields, and then I'm going to print that. Okay, so I'm going to clear the screen and let me try that again. Here we can see we have 4 fields, and then I'm creating a 5th field. And now I'm doing the same, but then I'm printing all of the fields so that you can see the 5th field that has the values of all of these fields. Okay. Let's talk about the field separator. I'm going to clear the screen. So this can be a single character or a regular expression. AWK will look through the record for the character sequences that match the field separator. The fields themselves are the text between the matches. So here, this one will be successful because we have set the field separator to comma the way it is in the input. If we see, we have semicolons. If we set this incorrectly, we will not print. And here I've just left it out. But here we are successful because the default field separator is the blank space. Okay, let's move on. And of course we're doing this in the begin rule with the action statement here. Okay, so we have space, comma, space. And so that is our field separator. But notice that we have space, character, space, character, and B is the second field because field 2, because AWK first strips the leading and trailing white space from the record and will then decide where the fields are. So by default, it will know that you will be using spaces to separate your fields, and that you may have a white space in the beginning of your, just to give yourself a margin, I suppose. But here we are deactivating that default behavior, and we are putting brackets here to match a space. So A is printed as field 2 because the leading and trailing white spaces were not stripped. So I just wanted to show you the default behavior of AWK in this manner. So this would, in this example, 1 or more spaces, tabs, or new lines is matched. That might be useful. So I hope to see you in the next episode where we will learn about printing output, and we'll use print and print format as well. So I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you.